Hello there, it's Andy Ewens from FormaServe once again. Here in our third module, we will be continuing our bite-sized training on writing bash scripts for our IBM. Well worth knowing how to write bash scripts for our day-to-day work on the IBM, just as we use CL programming. In this section of our bash scripting tutorial, we will take a look at the different loop formats available to us, as well as discussing when and why you may want to use each of them. If you missed my previous video in this series using conditioning in bash scripts, it can be found on our channel. Please subscribe to my channel to be notified when our next video in this series has been released. In this module, we will be covering how we can use loops in bash scripts. Loops allow us to take a series of commands and keep rerunning them until a particular situation is reached. Very handy for all those repetitive tasks. Just like the conditioning statements we covered in the previous module, loops have a starting point and an ending point. When the loop reaches its ending condition, the bash script continues with the statements after the loop definition. We will be covering while do done, perform a set of commands while a test is true. Until do done, perform a set of commands until a test is true. For do done, perform a set of commands for each item in a list. Break, exit the currently running loop. Continue, stop this iteration of the loop and begin the next one. Let me start at the beginning. What is a loop? I'm sure many of you are well aware of what a loop is, but for the rest, a quick explanation. Bash loops allows us to take a series of bash commands and keep them running until a certain situation is reached. They are very useful for automating repetitive tasks. Let me start with the first one we're going to take a look at, the while loop. A while loop says, while an expression is true, keep executing these lines of code. It has the following syntax: while and square brackets, subtest, the next line do, then a block of your commands, and then on the next line, done. Let me show you a quick example. Let me switch over to good old VS Code. Our first line is that good old shebang. Next, we're going to have a variable called n, and we're going to initialize that to 1. Then we're going to start our loop. We're going to iterate this loop for 5 times. So it's while, square brackets, and the variable n, $n, is less than or equal to 5. End the square brackets. On the next line we have a do. And here we're going to echo running $n time, all in quotes. And then we're going to come down and increment our variable n by 1. So we just put it in brackets, 2 lots of brackets, n plus plus, we'll increment it by 1. And then we have the done on line 14. And that is it, really is simple. Let me switch over to a bash session. Let me type in while1.sh, press enter, and we can see our loop running 5 times there. So that's our first while loop out the way. Nice and simple one to start with. The next loop command is the until loop. The until loop is very similar to the while loop. The difference is that it will execute the commands within until the test becomes true. It always performs one execution of the commands within it. The syntax of the until loop is until with some test in brackets, do, where you have your commands, your block of commands, and the next one is done. As you can see, the syntax of both the while and the until loops are very similar, just as they are in RPG and CL programming. It's just when to test to check whether to continue executing the code is performed. The while loop is checked on the first line, whereas the until loop is checked for the condition at the end of the done line. Let me show you an example code of this. Back to VS Code, start a new one, until 1.sh. As always, first line as shebang. Once again, we're going to initialize a counter, so counter equals 0. And then we go into our until loop. Until, square brackets, $counter is greater than 5. Do. So now we're just going to echo out the value we got in our counter, echo counter, and the variable $counter. And then we increment our counter, counter plus plus, and the next line is done. A nice simple one, very similar to the previous one. But this one checks the value, counter, at the done line. And switching back to bash, until 1.sh, and we can see how easy that is. So very similar to these two, but worth noting when would you use one and when would you use the other. The next one on the list is the for loop. Very different from the two loops we've already mentioned. The basic concept is for a given set of items, do something. There are a couple of different ways we can use the for loop. The first way is stepping through a list. The for loop will take each item in the list order, one after the other. Assign that item as the value of a variable, execute the commands between the do and the done, then go back to the top, grab the next item in the list and repeat over. The list is defined as a series of values, separated by spaces. Let me show you with an example. We start off a new bash script for 1.sh. As always, first line the shebang. Next we're going to define a variable. String equals hello, I'm a string, can be whatever you like. The important part here is the spaces, so we're going to step through this string and print out each individual word. Now going on to our for loop, for word in $string, do something, and here we're just going to echo word, $word, and then we've done. So it will step through the string, looking for the spaces and printing each word on a new line. Let me step over to bash, type in for1.sh, enter, and away it goes. Hello, I'm a string. So you can see it stepped through the string, each of the individual words of string. So it can be very useful just to go through a set of values in a string. That is the first for loop example out of the way. The next for loop example steps through a block of code in a numerical sequence. The syntax for this kind of loop is for, then two open brackets, the starting value, then semicolon, a while condition, then semicolon, and an incremental value. Close off the brackets, then do your block of code for the loop to execute, and then we round it off with a done. Back to VS Code. As always, first line, good old shebang. Next we're going to do this loop that's going to loop through numbers 1 to 5. So for, double brackets, n equals 1, which is the starting point. And then we're going to check n is less than or equal to 5. So this loop will continue while this condition is true. And then we're going to increment n. Then we have our do and the commands we're going to run. So all we're going to say in here is hello there, $n times, and done. And that is it. Very simple. Let me switch over to bash and run for2.sh, and you can see there hello there 5 times. While talking about loops in bash, there are two other statements we need to talk about. They are break and continue. Firstly, the break statement. The break statement tells bash to leave the loop straight away. The continue statement tells bash to stop running through this iteration of the loop and begin the next iteration. Both very handy. Let me show you some examples. I'll switch over to good old Visual Studio Code. I'll create a new file called break1.sh. The first line, as always, a shebang. We have a starting point for our loop. I'm going to use I as my loop variable. Then straight into the while loop. That will perform the loop while the variable I is less than 5. Then we echo the number out just to see where we are. The next line we increment I by 1. Then an if statement checking if it is equal to 3. If it is, we then break. We will end the if with an fi. We'll end the while loop with a done. Then after the loop has completed, a quick echo to say we're all complete. Over to my bash session to test it all out. Let me run break1.sh and check the output. Here we can see it echoed 0, 1 and 2. And then when the counter hits 3, it executes the break statement and exits out of the loop. And it then runs the lines after the done, which is that's all for now. To recap, the break stops the loops from performing and runs the command straight after. Now let me show you an example of the continue statement. I can skip telling you what the first line is by now. Then we initialize our counter variable I. A quick while loop that will go round 10 times. We increment our counter with an I++, and then an if statement to check the counter is 5. If it is, then run the continue statement, which will take us back to the while statement on line 7. Then we echo our counter variable I, and then we are done. Very simple. Back to bash. Execute continue1.sh. We can see it echoed our counter for 1 to 10, but omitted 5 because we ran the continue statement before the echo. That wraps up this topic on loops in bash on the IBM I. I hope you enjoyed it. Look out for our next topic in this mini-series on bash scripting, using functions in bash. Subscribe to our channel so you'll be informed when the next video is available. The link is in the description. Thank you, stay safe and see you soon. If you need any further details about open source or IBM I, check out all our videos at learning.formaserve.co.uk and the articles we have written for Powerwire.eu. I hope you find them useful and let us know if there are any other topics you want us to cover. Even through these difficult times, my company, FormaServe, is still providing training on our favourite platform, the IBM I. Whether it's remotely, through a mask, we are still here for you. If it's traditional programming using RPG and CL, or the modern methods of integrating open source into your infrastructure, we are here to help. We have over 30 years of teaching on the IBM I. Why not use us to get up to date and be at the forefront of the post-pandemic world? FormaServe uses Microsoft Teams software to develop top-notch training material. Take a look. You will not be disappointed. As many students have found, all our training is very informal. It's the way to learn. Find out what it's like to have fun while training. And that wraps up this quick video. Thank you for watching our how-to on IBM I video set. I hope you found them useful. Keep checking out our website learning.formaserve.co.uk and our YouTube channel. We regularly add new ones. Stay safe and we'll see you soon. Thank you.